Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the history of a small but iconic piece of American currency. The 1991 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump into the video. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American pockets and history since 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel. It features the portrait of the third U.S. president, Thomas Jefferson, sculpted by Felix Schlag. Now let's zoom into the year 1991. This wasn't a major commemorative year, but it was a continuation of America's everyday coinage. Coins. Millions used for buses, payphones, vending machines, and daily life. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced nickels at two main locations. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D-mint mark. Together, they struck hundreds of millions of these coins, making them common in circulation, yet still interesting for collectors. On the obverse, Jefferson faces left with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust." Liberty. The year 1991. On the reverse, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, along with E Pluribus Unum, United States of America. The denomination 5 cents. This iconic design remained unchanged from 1938, all the way until 2004. Like most modern nickels, the 1991 version is made of 70% copper, 25% nickel. This alloy gives the coin its silver-gray shine and durability. So what was happening in America when these coins were minted? 1991 was the era of early computers, cassette tapes, and the world adjusting to big political changes after the end of the Cold War. And through all that history, the 1991 nickel was a part of daily transactions across the country. Most 1991 nickels are still worth 5 cents in circulation, but untouched mint state examples, especially MS-65 and above, can reach higher values with collectors. Proof sets from 1991 also include beautifully struck nickels for hobbyists. So while the 1991 Jefferson nickel may not be rare, it's a classic piece of American coinage with decades of history behind it. From pocket change to collector's albums, it remains a small but meaningful part of U.S. currency. To understand the 1994 nickel, we need to take a quick look back. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the legendary Buffalo nickel. A German-American sculptor named Felix Schlag won a national contest to design the new coin. His winning entry featured a left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson's. On the reverse, his Virginia home, Monticello. This basic design stayed on the nickel for 66 uninterrupted years, from 1938 until 2004. So the 1994 nickel falls right in the late stage of this long-running design era. Before we zoom in on the coin itself, let's rewind to 1994. This was a big year in American pop culture and world history. 94 was the age of early Windows computers, VHS tapes, iPhones on every corner, gas prices under $1.20, the rising popularity of cable TV, and classic movies like Forrest Gump and The Lion King debuting in theaters. The U.S. economy was stable. The Mint was producing billions of circulating coins, and everyday Americans relied heavily on nickels for vending machines, arcade games, and bus fares. The 1994 nickel was struck at two main U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark; Denver Mint, D mint mark. Combined, over 1 billion nickels were minted in 1994. This makes it a common circulation coin, not rare, but definitely part of the historical record. Here's the general minting process. Blanks are punched from copper nickel sheets. Blanks are cleaned and prepared, called planchets. High-pressure coining presses strike the design onto both sides. The finished coin is inspected and transported out into circulation. The 1994 nickel is made of the classic Jefferson nickel metal blend. 70% copper, 25% nickel. This alloy gives it a hard, silvery tone and protects it from corrosion. The weight is 5 grams with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, a size and feel that's been consistent for generations. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse, you'll see the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. You'll also see these inscriptions: "In God We Trust," "Liberty," the year 1994, and a small mint mark if it was made in Denver. Flip the coin over and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's home, a neoclassical building he designed himself, one of the most recognizable buildings in American history. The reverse also includes "E pluribus unum," United States of America. The denomination 5 cents and the building name Monticello. This design remained untouched for decades, becoming a true American staple. So if your 1994 nickel looks worn, that's completely normal. It lived a long, busy life in the pockets and hands of millions. Now the question you're probably wondering, is the 1994 nickel valuable today? For circulated coins, it's worth 5 cents. But for collectors, quality matters. Uncirculated nickels, especially those graded, MS65 or higher, can sell for more. High-grade business strikes can reach a few dollars. Full steps, FS varieties with perfect Monticello steps on the reverse can sell for even more due to rarity. Proof nickels from 1994, minted in San Francisco with an S mint mark, have a mirror finish and are more valuable. So while not a rare coin, certain premium examples do interest collectors. As with many modern coins, some 1994 nickels have errors. These can make the coin much more valuable. Collectors look for off-center strikes, double die obverse DDO, decrex, broken planchets, repunched mint marks, unusual metal defects. Any of these could raise your coin's value significantly, depending on severity. Even though it's common, the 1994 nickel is part of a long American legacy. It represents decades of mint craftsmanship, consistency in American currency, everyday life in the 1990s, and a design that remained beloved for generations. It's a piece of history that most people overlook, but collectors know its value. So there you have it, the full story of the 1994 US 5-cent coin, from its origins in 1938, all the way through its role in the 1990s. This nickel continues to be a classic part of American money. To understand the 1984 nickel, we start way back in 1938, when the U.S. Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel with a new design honoring America's third president, Thomas Jefferson. Designer Felix Schlag created the portrait we see on the obverse, and Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home, on the reverse. In 1984, the U.S. Mint struck over 1 billion nickels, making it one of the high mintage years of the decade. 1984 mintages. Philadelphia, no mint mark, 769,000. Denver D, 387,000. San Francisco S, 366,000 proof coins. With so many nickels produced, most 1984 examples are common, but some carry surprising collector value because of errors and condition. Portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Word liberty in script handwriting. Motto: "In God We Trust." Date 1984. Mint mark: none. Philadelphia, Denver. San Francisco proof. Reverse back. Monticello, Jefferson's home. 5 cents. United States of America. Motto: "E pluribus unum." Metal: 75% copper, 25% nickel. Weight: 5.0 grams. Diameter: 21.21 mm. Edge: smooth. Designer: Felix Schlag. By 1984, the nickel had remained unchanged for decades, making it one of the most stable coin designs in American history. While most 1984 nickels are ordinary, a few rare errors can make them worth hundreds, even thousands. Decracks, cuts, raised metal lines on Jefferson's face or Monticello roof, off-center strikes. Coins missing up to 50% of the design. Double die obverse, DDO. Doubling visible on Liberty or the date. Improper alloy mix. Coins with unusual color or streaks. Broad-struck nickels. Expanded flattened edges. These error coins are highly desirable and can exceed 100-500 depending on the error type. Most worn coins, 5 20 cents. Uncirculated, mint state. MS-60, 1-3. MS-65, $15-30. MS-66 Plus, 40-80. MS-67 Rare, over 150. Proof coins, S-Mint mark. Price, 3-8 depending on grade. Major errors can reach 1,000 puzzlers at auctions. The 1984 nickel is a reminder of a stable yet evolving period in American coinage. New technologies were coming, designs were being reviewed, and the mint was pushing to keep production high. Look for sharp Monticello steps, the rare full steps, FS strikes. Preserve coins in dry, cool environments. Avoid cleaning and it destroys value. Check rolls from banks for hidden gems. In the vast world of American coinage, some years stand out not because of rarity, but because of the stories they tell. Today, we travel back to 1983, a year often overshadowed in the numismatic community, yet one with its own unique place in the history of the United States Mint. Soft music plays, close-up shots of a circulated 1983 Jefferson nickel rotating slowly under light. The year was 1983. Ronald Reagan was president. The United States was recovering from economic recession, and inflation was shaping how Americans spent their money. Coins were circulating heavily, and the U.S. Mint was focused on producing durable, dependable currency for everyday life. Cut to images of 1980s American streets, shops, and vending machines. To understand the 1983 nickel, we must begin with its timeless design. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Its designer, Felix Schlag, created two iconic images. Obverse, a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States. Reverse, Jefferson's plantation home, Monticello. This design remained unchanged for decades, and by 1983, it was already a national classic. Visuals, old footage of Schlag, design sketches, early nickels. In 1983, the nickel was struck at two major U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint did not produce circulation nickels that year, only proof coins. Mintage numbers: Philadelphia, around 600+ million. Denver, around 520+ million. San Francisco proof, low millions. These numbers tell us that the 1983 nickel was produced in huge quantities meant for everyday use across the country. Like all nickels struck since 1946, the 1983 Jefferson nickel uses a durable, corrosion-resistant alloy. Composition: 75% copper, 25% nickel. Weight: 5 grams. Diameter: 21.2 millimeter. Edge: smooth. This alloy was chosen for its strength and its ability to handle decades of circulation. At first glance, the 1983 nickel seems ordinary, but the early 1980s were a crucial period for the U.S. Mint. High circulation wear. Because the economy was recovering, coins were used more frequently, resulting in heavy wear on most nickels from this period. No mint sets in 1982-1983. These were the only two consecutive years since 1955, when the U.S. Mint did not sell uncirculated mint sets. Collectors had fewer chances to obtain high-grade examples, making well-preserved coins more challenging to find today. Quality issues. With high production pressure, some coins show weak strikes, die cracks, and other minor varieties. Collectors are particularly interested in certain varieties and errors from the 89 nickel. Common errors: off-center strikes, double die obverse DDO, die cracks around Monticello, clipped planchets. Full steps varieties, rare in 1983. Full steps nickels, showing all the stairs of Monticello. Sharply are especially scarce in high grade from 1983, pushing their value up for collectors. The San Francisco Mint produced beautiful, proof versions of the 1983 nickel, struck using specially polished dies. These coins feature mirror-like fields and sharp details and are mostly found in proof sets. Cut to shining proof coins under spotlight. So what is a 1983 nickel worth today? Circulated condition, typically 5C to 25C, depending on where. Uncirculated condition, $1 to 10 depending on quality. High-grade full steps can sell for hundreds of dollars in top condition. Error coins, depending on type, can range from $5 to over $200. The 1983 nickel is not rare, but it represents an important chapter in U.S. mint history, a time of economic transition, heavy coin usage, and the continued legacy of Felix Schlag's iconic design. So, the next time you see a worn old 1983 nickel, remember, it is not just a small piece of metal. It is a traveler from the past, carrying the story of American history, economy, and craftsmanship through nearly 4 decades. To understand the 1995 nickel, we must go back to its origins. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin carries 2 powerful symbols. Obverse, a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd U.S. President, author of the Declaration of Independence. Reverse, Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home in Virginia. For decades, this design remained unchanged, becoming one of America's longest-running coin series. By the time we reached 1995, this design had already been in circulation for 57 continuous years. The 1990s were a time of transformation, new technology, booming economy, and major political events. Here's what shaped the world when the 1995 nickel was minted. Bill Clinton was serving his first term as president. The U.S. Mint was expanding its modern production capabilities. The economy was strong, fueling higher demand for circulating coins. Americans relied heavily on cash transactions, making nickels essential in daily commerce. The 1995 nickel entered circulation during a period where vending machines, payphones, toll booths, and coin-operated services dominated the landscape. The 1995 Thomas Jefferson nickel was produced in 3 facilities. Philadelphia Mint, P. 776,868,000 coins. No mint mark until 1980, but in 1995, Philadelphia coins bear a small P. Denver Mint, D. 735,131,000 coins, known for sharp strikes and high circulation numbers. San Francisco Mint, S. 2,797,481 coins, proof only. These proof coins were sold in special sets, not for general circulation. Visual bar graphs showing mintages. The massive mintage totals reflect a busy economic era with high coin demand. The 1995 5-cent coin uses the classic wartime-era formula, unchanged since 1946. 75% copper, 25% nickel, weight 5 grams, diameter 21 mm. Edge plane, composition value 2025, only a few cents. Though simple in design, nickel is a tough metal to strike, making strong details difficult, especially on Jefferson's hair and Monticello's steps. Obverse, front, Jefferson faces left. The motto, "In God We Trust," on the left side. The word liberty in Jefferson's handwriting style. The date 1995. Mint marks P, D, or S, depending on the facility. Reverse, back, large depiction of Monticello. The word Monticello below the building. Motto, E pluribus unum above. Country name, United States of America. Denomination, 5 cents. Felix Schlag, the designer, had passed away in 1974, but his design remained untouched, honoring his place in coin history. While most 1995 nickels are common, collectors seek high-grade examples. Circulated condition, usually worth 5 cents to 20 cents. Uncirculated mint state, MS65, $4, 7, MS66, $12, $20. MS67 can exceed 100 plus, depending on strike. Proof coins, S Mint. PR69 Deep Cameo, $10, $20. PR70 Deep Cameo, $45, $90 sellers. The most valuable 1995. Nickels are error coins, and they can be worth hundreds. Collectors love hunting for error nickels. Here are the most desirable 1995. Jefferson nickel mistakes off-center. Strikes 5 to 50%. Value $20 to $200, depending on how dramatic. Double die obverse, DDO. Look for doubling on. Liberty. Date 1995. In God we trust. Value $30, 150 plus. Misaligned, de error. Value $10, $40. De cracks and cuts. Some show cracks around Jefferson's portrait or Monticello. Value $5, $50. Full steps, FS designation. A rare strike where all steps of Monticello are fully visible. These command big premiums due to difficulty. MS66 FS 150, 400 plus. MS67 FS 800, 1500 plus. Finding a 1995 FS nickel is rare, but not impossible. The 1995 nickel symbolizes the end of an era. Just 8 years later, in 2003, the U.S. Mint began redesigning the nickel for the Westward Journey series. Thus, the 1995 nickel is part of the final decade of Felix Schlag's original, designed before modernizing. It marks the last generation that grew up with this classic look. The 1995 United States 5-cent coin is more than a simple piece of pocket change. It represents a long-standing American design tradition, a booming 1990s economy, millions of everyday transactions, the lasting imprint of Thomas Jefferson's legacy. From mintage numbers to rare errors, from historical context to collector value, the 1995 nickel stands as a quiet but meaningful chapter in American numismatic history. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment which coin you want me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.